Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. In today's video I'm gonna be showing you a really good and really affordable dupe for the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar palette. I think the Blood Sugar palette is probably one of the most iconic eyeshadow palettes out there, a part of Anastasia Beverly Hills' Modern Renaissance palette. I just feel like it's one of those palettes that every real makeup lover has to have. This is the outer packaging, and I think it's an absolute genius to do a packaging like this. It really reminds me of a first aid kit, and once you open it you get this gorgeous selection of shades. Now at first glance it might look like it's a really red eyeshadow palette, but in reality if you would change the packaging itself you would realize it's not that red at all. In reality, the only red shades in this palette are these four here, maybe this one, but the rest of the palette, a part of these two shades, is really neutral. The first row and the first three shades in the second row are all really neutral, subtle shades, so it's actually not as harsh as you first might think. When I first heard of this palette coming out, I was like, ugh. Who wants a red eyeshadow palette? Why would you want red eyes? But look at me today. I'm absolutely wearing it and loving it. So I think whoever came up with the idea was right. This palette is absolutely gorgeous. However, it is £52, which is definitely something to consider. It's not a cheap eyeshadow palette. It is not a Pat McGrath or Natasha Denona price range, but it's still really expensive. I feel like this one and Huda Beauty are the more expensive ones of this high-end YouTube influencer type of makeup brands. There are definitely cheaper ones on the market that will give you the same performance, and as far as I'm concerned, today's dupe is one of those. This is the palette we're talking about. It's from Makeup Revolution, which is a UK brand that's very well known for copying other brands. The first time I actually heard about Revolution myself was when Kat Von D was really pissed off with them because I believe one of their very first eyeshadow palettes was a dupe of her Shade and Light eyeshadow palette. And ever since they've been basically duping any iconic popular eyeshadow palettes that came out. And the Blood Sugar palette is no exception. If you look at these shades, you will straight away recognize that even though these are in different order, they are technically the same shades. You only get 15 shades in this one, whilst you get 18 in the Blood Sugar palette. So yes, there are 3 shades missing. However, all of the shades that really make the Blood Sugar palette what it is are in this palette as well. So you will basically be able to create all of the same looks because the shades that are missing can be easily worked around. You don't have to have them. Basically, you're fine, and you will be able to recreate anything technically that you would have created using the Blood Sugar palette. Like I said before, the Blood Sugar palette is £52. This one is 5, and that makes it more than 10 times cheaper. The Blood Sugar palette was made in the United States, and it contains 18 times 1.5 grams of product, which gives you 27 grams of product overall. Whilst the Revolution palette was made in China and contains 1.1 grams of product in each pan. It has 15 pans in total, so it's gonna give you 16.5 grams of product in total, which is about 60% of what you get in the Blood Sugar palette. However, like I said, it is about 10 times cheaper than the original palette is. I'm gonna very quickly include for you the swatches that I did previously with these two palettes. As you can see, the shades are really spot on. I was really pleasantly surprised about this palette, and I will have some other dupes coming for the Blood Sugar palette very soon. also from Revolution. They have different lines. They have the I Heart Makeup line, the Revolution, Revolution Pro, and even within the Revolution range, they do have different eyeshadow palette ranges that they do, and this palette is the cheapest out of the three I have from Revolution, but it's also the best one because this one has the exact same shades. I would say that out of the other two palettes I will have, at least one of them is more just like inspired by the Blood Sugar palette. It's not really a straight on copy like this one, but this one is basically exactly the same as the Blood Sugar palette. I used the Dupe Palette today on this side of the face, and quite honestly, you cannot tell that I'm wearing two different palettes on my face. It's absolutely amazing. You basically get the same thing you would get from the Blood Sugar palette. Not to mention that at least if you live in the UK, this is really easily accessible. It's available in Superdrugs all over the country. In the USA, as far as I know, you can buy them in Ulta now, but correct me if I'm wrong. So Revolution is a very accessible brand. As far as I know, Jeffree Star products are only available in store in Morphe stores, and we have one Morphe store in the UK, but I think in the UK they don't have Jeffree Star products. So in the USA you have a couple of stores, but Morphe definitely doesn't have as many stores as Ulta does. So the Revolution palette is very affordable, very accessible, and basically really, really good quality for the money. I am so impressed with this palette. I think it's so good. It literally makes me question why the hell did I spend so much money on this Blood Sugar palette. I don't want to make this video too long, and I know you guys are more interested in seeing this palette in action than listening to my bubbling, so I'm gonna get right into the application now to show you how I created this eye makeup look. And once I'm done, we're gonna get back here and I will tell you which palette I think you should pick up, but I think you can already guess. Alright, so I already primed my eyes using the MAC Painterly Paint Pot, and as you can see I applied some shadow shields as well, so we're good to go. We're gonna be using the cheaper palette on this side of the face, which is today going to be the Makeup Revolution Reloaded Red Alert palette, and the more expensive one on this side of the face, which is going to be the Jeffree Star Blood Sugar palette. And to start with, I'm gonna take Dunk Pop and just add it to the crease. In the Red Alert palette, this shade is here. At first glance, it seems to be pretty much identical, not just the color itself, but the opacity, the pigmentation as well. Maybe the Makeup Revolution one is a little bit darker and less red, but you really cannot tell them apart, to be honest. I'm gonna start taking Cherry Soda now to darken up the outer corner and the crease. This Cherry Soda shade does have a lot of kickback, so I already feel justified using a shadow shield, because otherwise I would have had red pigment all over my under eye already. I'm gonna take the previous brush to diffuse this a little bit. On the Red Alert side, this shade is here. It looks a little bit less red, more muted in the pan. We're gonna see how it looks on the face. At first glance, it looks more like an ox blood kind of red. The Cherry Soda shade from Jeffree is more of like a hot pink, like a blue based red. So this shade looks slightly different. Other than that though, the pigmentation is really good, and when I'm blending it, it's not blending away. So far this Revolution palette is really good. Now I'm gonna take some of Fresh Meat to really darken up the outer corner, and after that we're gonna jump into creating the cut crease. So this is not gonna be the only time we're using Fresh Meat. After we place down the concealer for the cut crease, we are gonna come back and work more with this shade, but for now I just want to darken up the outer corner a little bit before we prepare for the lighter shade. And again, blend it out. In the Red Alert palette, this shade is here. And this one actually seems to be quite spot on. It seems to be almost identical to Fresh Meat, which would basically mean that it's gonna turn the rest of the shades underneath as well into like an identical look to the original side. Okay, I have roughly the same amount of fallout on the two sides so far. I'm gonna go off camera now. I'm gonna prepare the cut crease, and then we're gonna be back and apply the lighter shade and then work everything together. Alright, so as you can see, I have the cut crease ready. Now we're gonna apply the light shade on top of it, and the light shade we apply is going to be Candy Floss. I already removed my shadow shield because it was coming off anyway. I really hope Candy Floss is not gonna fall all over the face, because normally when I'm patting on shades with this brush, the pigment just falls everywhere. Alright, so that's the Jeffree Star side so far. In the Red Alert palette, the shade is here. This palette basically is identical to the original one. I know you have 3 shades less, but the shades you do have are all exactly the same ones as the shades in the original palette. Okay, now that the light shade is done, I'm gonna jump back into Fresh Meat again with a really small brush, and I'm gonna basically use it to emphasize the contrast between the light and the dark shade here. And then I take it with a slightly bigger brush and start blurring out the line between the light and the dark shade. We're gonna take another shade in a second to really work them together, but I'm gonna start using Fresh Meat for that first. Once again, this shade is here in the Revolution palette. Wow, these look basically identical so far. I'm gonna take some of Tongue Pop now to help us blend the two shades into each other. And again, we're gonna repeat the same thing on the Red Alert side. Under the eye, I'm gonna take some of Cherry Soda again. In the Red Alert, Cherry Soda is here. And because the white shade in this palette, called Glucose, is a matte white shade, I'm gonna use something else instead to make the inner corner pop. like I said in my previous video, I quite enjoy using the shade Ice Cold from the Skin Frost highlighter range. So I'm gonna use some of this one in my inner corner on both sides. And now I'm gonna go off camera and finish my eye makeup look, and once I'm done I'm gonna be back with my final thoughts. Alright, so this is the finished look. I think they turned out absolutely identical. I didn't have pigmentation issues, I didn't have problem with the fallout, I didn't need to take more time to blend anything or build up anything. It just worked absolutely fine. I had no issue with the cheaper palette. I did not feel that it was less quality than the original one. So honestly guys, if you ever thought of buying the Blood Sugar palette but the price or the person behind the brand maybe was holding you back, this little palette is definitely something to consider. At the end of the day, you basically get the same thing. The packaging is less pretty, but just saying, you can save a lot of money there. That's it for today guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here. And until next time, take care of yourself. I will see you very soon. Bye.